There are challenges and setbacks for people who must serve time behind bars, but incarceration can also provide opportunities for self-improvement. Taj Mahal shares the proven track record of a college-to-prison co-learning program and the professor working to create pathways for success in today's Sunday Morning Spotlight.
This is a program that's been existing at Marquette for quite some time. My class more specifically focuses on business.
Dr. Manoj Babu teaches business at Marquette University. His class is part of the Educational Preparedness Program, or EPP. It's a college bridge program creating opportunities for current and formerly incarcerated individuals.
The idea of teaching in prison is somewhat daunting. You know, it's not exactly something that they teach you in any kind of business school or anything like that. So this becomes a passion of mine.
Each week, Dr. Babu's class heads to Racine Correctional Institution for their 2.5-hour class session. The class brings incarcerated students and traditional campus students together to learn.
The easy part, I say this to my students all the time, the easy part is learning. The hard part is getting to the classroom, right? Going through the metal detectors, the security checks, the background checks, everything, and for good purpose. I mean, DOC, the Department of Corrections, has their own way of limiting people coming in for safety purposes, and because of that, everything has to be done according to protocol.
And that can sometimes mean getting creative.
You can't bypass anything. It's a all-in or nothing type of situation. Very, very different than my classes here. The clothing that you wear has to be specific. You know, it can't be. You can't have any metal. You can't bring in any electronics. No keys. No laptops. And depending on the day, it really depends on. You can bring in pen and paper and things like that. So the teaching itself is very old school. You know, so it's very discussion based and it's more theoretical and idea generating than anything else.
Samantha Zingzheim and Nicole Benedict are among the traditional students who travel to the prison for class each week.
Rush hour traffic, and we're coming together to figure out carpool situations.
I found it very interesting. You obviously can't bring your phones or anything in, so at first it was a little daunting going to like the check-in process. You have to walk through like a metal detector. And we were allowed to bring in a clear bag, so we'd have to get that looked at. Yeah, it was just interesting to be like kind of off the grid for 3 hours.
But during that time, the ladies say invaluable lessons are learned.
When you're with the other classmates, it feels exactly like a normal course. Like I got kind of used to the setup right away. And we were split up, so it was, you were in a group with the non-traditional students, so that was the inmate students, and then we usually had like 1 to 2 Marquette students in it, so that was a little different in that sense.
With no electronics, the focus in the class was back to the basics, but the Marquette academic standards remained the same.
A lot of these students at RCI have never been in a formal class setting, and they don't understand what the expectations are. I mean, the class is still a business class, so I still have to maintain rigidity and assessments, even in RCI. So I grade them as if they were on campus.
And aside from just content-wise of the course, I learned so much just through having conversations with the inmates. I mean, we couldn't go too in-depth personally, but just what I did learn about them was really inspiring, just seeing the motivation that they had.
The mission of EPP is to make a positive impact on growing concerns about rising incarceration rates by providing new pathways forward. Something these students are glad to have a first-hand look at.
Especially on the topic of recidivism, and a lot of the discussion while we were in class was how great this is for people who are going to be released someday to come out with a degree and aspirations and goals that they've had time to think about and apply themselves to and have an ability to become not only something for themselves personally, to feel accomplished.
Dr. Babu says teaching the class has been personally fulfilling for him. As a teenager, he remembers spending a night in jail and meeting a man who couldn't read.
I was teaching him letters and words, and that was when I was 17 years old.
Being able to make a positive impact on someone else's life is what feeds his passions today.
It's great that the Education Preparedness Program is there because I actually get to fill that void, you know, of helping and seeing areas in my teaching come to life. And I think that's really one of the biggest impacts for me.